I was brought up as a Lutheran, and the moment that I left home to go to college, I left the church out of a feeling that it wasn't right for me. And without making any further judgments, I just felt there was something wrong with Christianity. So it wasn't just that I wasn't interested, it was a kind of an active, repelled feeling. And very soon after I got to college, I ran into science fiction and psychedelics and the Sierra Nevada and Gary Snyder and also the works of Chinese landscape poetry. And Gary came down and gave a reading at UCSD, and I read all his works. I read all of Alan Watts. I saw Ram Dass maybe 4 times in my life, but 2 early on in those days. And I had some transcendental experiences, almost always in nature, having to do with psychedelics, but framed by Aldous Huxley's Doors of Perception and by Alan Watts and by D.T. Suzuki. I was connecting up with something. And I have to mention also Carlos Castaneda and Don Juan. These were in the air. And what persisted out of that was Zen and the idea that daily life is devotional and can be devotional if you treat the world as sacred. I mean, it's clearly mysterious. You don't even have to point that out, but as mystical, that sometimes you have a sense of a wholeness, sometimes you have a sense of the universe, that you're just some kind of quantum foam in some larger universal entanglement. I see no reason not to call that a spiritual feeling. It's intellectual, it's a consciousness, but it's emotional. When you do the scientific research, you realize that they've found that there's a big area of the temporal lobes in the brain that resonate like a hit gong when you're having religious feelings or when you're in a hypergraphic state, which cracks me up. And also, perhaps in an epileptic fit, which is also funny. For me personally, though, it had to do with my life in the Sierra Nevada and also in the ocean, but that quickly shifted to the Sierra Nevada as a backpacker, became a pilgrimage, and always felt like I was in sacred space and doing something beyond just having an adventure, although it was a marvelous adventure. Zen as daily life. So washing the dishes is a Zen exercise. The whole chop wood, carrying water. If you turn those activities, the repetitive and tedious, into devotional exercises. And this is the most casual kind of thing. I don't meditate. I don't clock my breathing. I do what I would call running meditation, or my friend and I play a running version of Frisbee golf. And once for one of the Buddhist magazines, I wrote an article on Frisbee golf as a Zen exercise, and they rejected it. It was maybe a bridge too far for them. But of course, there are those Japanese monks that run around Mount Haya in Japan to go into a kind of trance state. It's not just that I believe in all that stuff, because belief is a strange word. I practice it. It helps me. I feel a calmness. I feel centered. I feel like I'm productive, that I can focus when I'm writing my books. This sense of mindfulness can resemble mindlessness, or a point of consciousness where you are no longer aware of yourself as an individual, but are aware of your surround. And then for me, I try to channel voices, and then that's why I'm a novelist. So all across the board, I am very happy to think of myself as some kind of Zen Buddhist. And what I love about this is that reading the Dalai Lama and looking into Tibetan Buddhism, which I did for my Green Earth project, the Dalai Lama would be fine with my Buddhism, and the Buddha would be fine with my Buddhism. There is no doctrinaire dogmatism that says, oh, you're not doing it right. You're not serious enough. You're too California hippie, new age, playful. That doesn't exist. I don't feel that kind of a judgment being made on me by anybody, which is great.
Yeah, almost every public talk I've been to where the Dalai Lama spoke, he said, "Don't become a Buddhist." You
Yeah,
know? So, you-
yeah.
I think it's one of the most powerful marketing for Buddhism I think there is.
Yeah, it's very attractive, ecumenical, and tolerant, open to other views. The way he says, well, if science shows that something in Buddhism was wrong, then we have to change that aspect of Buddhism. I mean, this is so funny. You don't hear other religious leaders say anything even remotely like that.
Oh, it's amazing. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the Dalai Lama. So this is interesting hearing about your own spirituality and especially how that's rooted in nature.